Well, hello and welcome to the Smells Like Money podcast. Join me, Suzanne Chin Taylor, the DooDoo Diva, as I interview guests who are making an impact on how we manage and operate systems for conveying and treating wastewater. As a veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry, each week I'll be bringing you industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Join me each week as I speak with representatives of organizations that are utilizing disruptive or new technologies and methods, and executives who are excited to share how to be successful and sustainable in our vital industry. So whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, in treatment or trenchless, gain tips on training and retaining great talent, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Ready? Let's dive right in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DooDoo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we are visiting with Raciel Castillo. Oh, God, I love saying that. I love rolling that R. Raciel Castillo. And he is the CEO and founder and also inventor from RC Technologies. And what we're going to be talking about today is carbon capture. And I know for some of you, you may have heard this buzzing around in the ether and on the internet, but may not be completely familiar with exactly what this technology is and what it does, how it can be incorporated. So I wanted to have him come onto the show today to discuss how this amazing technology that actually has a very, very small footprint can be used in wastewater applications, mainly on the facility level, but also for manufacturers and contractors in your own operations and, your buildings and your facilities, because a lot of us, we're getting very concerned about sustainability, reducing our own carbon footprint. How can we contribute to the benefit of the planet? What type of technologies are out there that are affordable that we can incorporate and have a really interesting ROI for us as people in the industry? And so with that, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So I really want to focus on what is carbon capture technology and really more about what you're doing. And later on in the show, we're going to bring up a picture of this amazing, what I would call, it kind of looks nondescript, but this little magic box and what it actually does. And then I want you to talk to our audience about how this could be incorporated into any type of operations facility, really focusing on how can, wastewater utilities, treatment plants, which are huge users of electricity. And, we think about our carbon footprint, but what this is and how it can be utilized, help us be better stewards of the planet.
Yeah. So in short, carbon capture is simply the capturing of carbon. This happens naturally through nature, through a process called the slow carbon cycle, whereas the carbon dioxide that's in the air feeds into the plant, into the roots, down into the soil, all through these different layers of rock and sediment, also through the ocean, underneath the ocean floor, and then it goes up into a volcano, and then out of that volcano when it erupts, and then it goes through that process, that slow carbon cycle again. That's the nature-based way. Also plants and trees, and things of that nature. The technological aspect, which is what we work on, is a technology that removes it directly from the atmosphere or from point source. Point source is any sort of coal-fired power plant, cement manufacturing, steel manufacturing, all of these facilities. You don't have to produce a pure stream or any kind of stream, mix or otherwise, of CO2. But any time you're pulling from the grid, because the grid is 85 or so percent powered by coal and natural gas, you're producing carbon emissions from that pulling of the grid. So anytime you turn on a light switch at your facility or your home, anytime you flush the toilet, anytime you order a package, anytime you go buy something in your, online or anything like this, you're producing carbon.
So basically, everything that we do in daily life, we're producing this.
Everything that we do and in every way that we interact, carbon emissions are involved.
Wow. Okay. So let's take, for example, a wastewater treatment plant. How can carbon capture benefit a plant, and where would it be capturing from in the process, and how would that take place?
Yeah. So these utilities for wastewater, specifically in the United States, account for about 45 million tons of CO2 annually, CO2 emissions. And so what we would do is those facilities are not producing their own CO2 emissions. They're pulling from a grid, and as a result of what I mentioned earlier, are producing something. So we would take it out of the atmosphere for them. And then we would also, because the goal is not, it's not entirely carbon capture, it's also carbon reduction, right? So if you're able to incorporate renewable energies and more sustainable practices, you'll lower the amount of CO2 emissions that you emit. And then whatever you are emitting, we can remove. We can remove it in the process of that transition period from where you're at now to a more sustainable portfolio of energy and resources. And then slowly but surely, 50, 60, 70 years down the line, we'll begin to remove our carbon technologies, and then nature will take its course again. And throughout the entire relationship, nature is also involved. We're not bypassing nature; we're working with Mother Nature. So we have all of those, it's working out for everybody.
So is the end result, when this is captured, then what do you do with it? What happens with it?
Yeah, this is a great question. So we've developed a process of utilization. So we can create materials that are high value, environmentally friendly, circular products, which are super important for the future that we're going into now. And so products like graphene, environmentally friendly jet fuel, and other materials, we can produce photovoltaic cells for solar panels so that they're even more environmentally friendly. But one of the biggest things with renewable energy is that they do also have a carbon footprint. And so in the production of those technologies and electric vehicles as well, you're producing, it's really relative to the size of production, but you're producing carbon emissions. And so if we can reduce the amount of carbon emissions associated with all of those individual parts, we lower the overall carbon emission for that suite of technology.
Now, I need it from a space standpoint. Is this something that has to be retrofitted into a facility, or it's just something that's brought to the facility? I'm thinking, size, in terms of size and scale, what's involved for the installation and placement of this for best results?
Yeah. So for our particular models, we manufacture everything on site, and then we assemble it on location. So it's already pre-assembled. We just connect all the parts on location. What's great about our modular system is that they can be placed on rooftops, all over cities, in rural and remote areas as well, so farmland, agricultural spaces. And so there's very minimal installation or construction involved. There is no large infrastructure that needs to be set into place or into motion prior to the deployment of the technologies. So you can retrofit it to certain buildings. For example, hospitals, they have CO2 that they produce because they need it for pressurized environments and other processes that the hospitals use. And so you'll have that through their HVAC system. So yeah, you can connect right above their HVAC system, you can place a unit. It'll just collect all the CO2 that
well, that might be something that would be of interest to, industrial manufacturers who have to do pre-treatment for their wastewater treatment process. Is just something to, to just bring down costs of whatever they're doing, so that after you capture, let's get into the first thing. I know the first thing that's going to be running through people's minds. Okay, one more technology to bolt on. Yeah, I want to do my part for the planet. But the whole thing is so what's in it for me? So as they do this, what's the benefit other than being a good steward of the planet, which we all should be? But what is in it for that asset owner, be it municipality, office building owner, a manufacturer, whatnot, to have carbon capture technology? What do they get back from it as a benefit of incorporating it into their overall sustainability plan?
So one of the things that immediately comes to mind is compliance. And another thing is asset protection. If you have these assets and you want to maintain them, you need to have them in, working and producing whatever benefits they're producing for you. You want to have a sustainability model in place. Otherwise, once these compliance regulations begin to crack down, and they will very soon, and they already are, you might be fined or have a lien on your business where you won't be able to operate. So you'll have stranded assets. That's one particular case. Another one is outside of it being, being a good steward to the planet. It's not. We're prolonging the longevity of the human race, right? Like, this is all for the expansion and the evolution of the human. It's not while it does affect business and like I said earlier, all of the interactions that we have in our daily lives, the biggest component that relates to everyone in all ways is making sure that we're protecting the planet. So for businesses, it's asset. For humans, it's quite literally saving the planet. I know that's like a buzzword around all different places, and it's gotten a bit overused perhaps, but the truth remains that without a planet, none of these things can happen.
Are there financial things or financial rewards to be had for, investing in incorporating this type of technology?
Absolutely. So with the rise of carbon markets, voluntary and otherwise, you can buy extra credits and trade these credits on like you would any other stuff. So what we're predicting is that by 2025, the cost of the European regulated carbon market, right now, I don't know what the price is today, but in February, it was the highest ever at $101. From like 75 to 80, it rose up to 97. It's supposed to be around 97 by the end of the third quarter. That number is going to go up, and all of these companies that are right now purchasing from them are going to have to pay higher. So if you, for example, you work with a company like ours or any other carbon capture company, or you're working in any other capacity, you want to reserve those credits, and then you'll be right. So that's sort of a financial advantage if that is of importance, and it is when you're running a business. You have to make sure you're staying afloat, etc. But the other advantage, like I mentioned, is to trade those credits. So once you're at a this sort of inflection point where you're not producing any more carbon emissions, where you're carbon negative, ideally, you now can trade these extra credits that you buy. So let's say you buy 100 credits today at $80. You can trade that when that price rises up to over 100, wherever it will go. You now have this benefit of that.
So why would a company or an entity want to buy these credits? I mean, how does that benefit them? I mean, we talked a little bit offline about this, that what does having these credits do for you? For those of you who are not, I want you to answer that question. Just I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it. I've heard about it and trading the credits, but there are some people who may not understand the full reasoning behind this, or how this, carbon credits thing actually works, and that why should I worry about this? Why should I be concerned about it?
The biggest reason is compliance. If you're not in compliance, as the situation worsens or gets a bit more intense, and it will, or it can, you want to make sure that you are protected. Now, if it reaches a point where it's too extreme, then all businesses, or the majority of them, like during the pandemic, are going to have to just be at a standstill. The further you get ahead of that, the better it is for everyone. So getting these credits is actually, if you get them from a company that's removing your carbon emissions, which is really what you should be focusing on, as opposed to offsetting them, which is a big controversy right now in the carbon capture space, you 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 basically solidify your space as a company, and you're it's an opportunity to maintain an open business. So not only are you in compliance, but you're doing the right thing for your business and for everyone else. And so there's a chance that you'll maintain and operate. And it's still in its infancy. There's a lot that is being considered, reworked, introduced. So there are a lot of things that we don't yet know. But what we do know is that you need to remove your, and the sooner you get on that, the better for you.
It's almost like, and maybe I'm off base here, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like when you decide that you're going to put solar on your building or your home, and whatever you don't use, you sell back to the grid, and then that brings down your personal energy cost. Would that be a good comparison to something like this, that by doing something good, you're actually helping yourself, because as you were saying, you could sell or use those carbon credits for something else?
Yes, there is a component to carbon capture technology in the future, the relatively near future, where, so for our individual units, because of their modularity, they can be placed complete anywhere. If you wanted to be a independent carbon capture sort of specialist or vendor or supplier, we could offer you our machine. You would capture CO2 on your building, in your farm, on the side of your house, wherever, and then you would sell it to companies that need those credits. They're called the same sort of concept is happening now with countries around the world with nationally determined contributions. They're called NDCs. And so America can buy wind and hydro and solar and then sell those credits to another country that doesn't have the infrastructure to place those technologies.
Okay.
And so you have that sort of credit scheme where it does allow for something similar to it.
Got it. Well, this is really interesting. So when you were saying assembling it, what is the average size of your unit, like the footprint size, the dimensions?
Yeah, so we have 2 different units. We have a smaller unit, and then our largest one, which is the one we're talking about, is 10 feet tall by 8 feet wide and 16 feet. So
it's really not that big in the scheme of, an industrial. And the weight of it, you were saying that it could be very easily put on a roof.
Yeah, so it's super lightweight. We're not using heavy materials or anything like this. The size can be multiplied. It can be, created to any size because of its modularity. It's not stackable, but we can expand the size or contract, so we can create any size or virtually any shape. So yeah, it's pretty versatile. And,
how is it powered? I never asked you that. How is it powered?
It's not powered. We don't use any energy in the individual system.
Oh, wow.
So we don't have any fans. We don't use any energy. We don't use any water.
So it really is a magic box.
I mean, it's a science box, but so we bypass all of that, and in the process, we save all these resources for other things that are necessary, other processes.
How about ongoing maintenance, Raciel? What are the maintenance responsibilities for the person that puts this in? Because I know a lot of people are very interested. Okay, yeah, that's great, but now who's going to take care of it? What am I going to be responsible for ongoing to keep this thing running?
you're not responsible for anything. We take full responsibility. We take full functionality of the system. We control and manage all the maintenance. We have our specialists go out. They capture the material. The machine captures the material. We transfer it, and then we transport it to our facility while that machine is still collecting from the atmosphere.
So you're taking care of getting the carbon that's collected into the hands of those manufacturers and those companies that need it. So if I'm understanding it correctly, it's a twofold process. You're capturing material that can then be reused again for manufacturing other things. And then because you've got this unit, you're getting these credits that then you as a business owner can use for something else. And I have a feeling like these carbon credits are probably going to play maybe into green initiatives or being awarded contracts because you have carbon credits or you are showing that you've got a sustainability plan or green credits. I'm seeing that this is gonna evolve and become a lot bigger than it is right now.
Yeah. So the credits that will issue are for our clients. So you as client will have credit. We collect the CO2 from the atmosphere. A third party comes and ensures that we've collected what we said we collected, and then they authorize that, and then that we issue that credit to the company.
Okay.
Credit belongs to the company, and they need that for verification of sustainability measures, compliance regulations. If they wish to buy more than they need, they can then trade it on the market. They can use it as any sort of advantage or benefit to any sort of brokering of any deals, things like that.
I love this. Well, I know that there's a lot more that can be discussed and go into a lot of depth. And I don't want to, overload the audience, but just giving you guys some food for thought that whether you're a public entity, treatment facility, public works department, contractor, manufacturer, that this is something that really can be used by any entity within our industry to start, moving forward with your own sustainability and your own green initiatives and getting some benefit back from it. I know compliance is a really, really big issue. And it's, when we hear, you're out of compliance, that one more thing that I have to be compliant with, I'm sure, municipalities are inwardly groaning like, one more thing. And so just by having something like this or making yourself aware of it, maybe you can't put it into place now, but just having that knowledge that it's aware that maybe this is something that we need to move forward towards. And so it just, because I love being transparent on the show. What are people looking at as an investment for this? Just on average, let's just say it's a small office building. What should they be looking at cost-wise to get involved in incorporating something like this into their plan?
Yeah. So initially, the cost is about $350 for our process. It's one of the lower numbers in the industry right now because we don't have all that infrastructure and we bypass all of that. Our costs are, way more efficient as a process. But we can get it down as low as $80 per ton. And then we're forecasting that like 2030 onward, we can get it down. And it really is a case-by-case basis. The more people that we're able to, assist in removing their emissions, the more efficient our process becomes. So it really, if you're interested, I would recommend reaching out to us.
Have you come together? So I was just going to ask you that for those of you who would like to, explore this technology further and see how it might work for you and if it's a fit, how can they get in touch with you, Raciel?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, www.rctechnologies.co, so CO, or you can just simply email us at info@rctechnologies.co, and I or somebody from my team will.
And Raciel is also on LinkedIn, which is it's how we got connected because we're part of Sustainability Professionals. And so thank you for being on the show and, giving us this, I guess, 30,000 foot view of carbon capture technology. I'm sure there's a lot more to be discussed. And so thank you again for coming on the show. And for those of you interested, please do reach out to Raciel and his team to learn more about it. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks so much for joining me, the DooDoo Diva, on this week's episode of Smells Like Money. What stood out to you this week? Share your takeaways by leaving me a review. You can find out more about the new technologies, creating sustainable solutions, and insights on how to succeed in our vital industry by subscribing to the show. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in wastewater infrastructure, treatment, or trenchless, you've got it all right here at Smells Like Money. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest for the show, book a quick chat with me by visiting calendly.com/the2it group/B-A-podcast-guest, or simply click the link in the show notes below. Until next week, a big shout out to all my industry friends and those who will be. You are my superheroes. Thanks for tuning in, keeping it flowing, and we'll see you all next week.